Alright, let me paint the scene for you.
I'm getting sick of getting made fun of, Josh. Like, when I walk into class late and the teacher will ask why I'm late, and before I can answer, Josh will be like, because he got done sucking Daffy Duck's dick.
It's 2005 and you're a teenage girl living in the suburbs. Crazy concept, I know, but don't click off yet. I want you to think about this. At this time, there are only 3 things on your mind. Hot topic, MySpace, and the topic of our video, emo boys kissing. Oh my god! Whether it was doom scrolling on AO3, Wattpad, or fanfiction.net, or Tumblr if you're a fucking degenerate, or obsessing over low quality phone recordings, the biggest fad within the emo culture during the 2000s have to be a mix between shipping yourself with a band member or speculating on a band member's relationships. Shipping culture was prevalent in the emo community and the general youth culture the 2000s to the 2010s, and while there is still a lot of that in the 2020s, it's not as prevalent as it was 10 to 15 years ago. This of course would bleed into other communities, not just emo fans, though the shared fan bases would correlate. Stuff like Dan and Phil, 21 Pilots, and Smosh.
He was looking at gay porn! And who doesn't from time to time? True.
Yes, seriously, Smosh. 3 popular ships at the time were, of course, Gerard Way and Frank Ayer of My Chemical Romance, Ryan Ross and Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco, Pete Wentz and Patrick Stump of Fall Out Boy. Any additional ones in that case were when Pete Wentz and Mikey Way and Gerard and Bert Kreischer of The Used were alleged to have a relationship. Let's not forget the effect Brendan Urie and Dallin Weeks had on Tumblr kids with their relationship at the time, and there was of course the very small minority of certain sickos that would ship Gerard and Mikey together despite the two being related, and then there were the absolute lowest of the low where people would ship Mindless Self-Indulgences, Jimmy Urine, and Steve Rye together. There's like 15 of you MSI fans left. We will have content for you soon. Fans would make content for the ships from fanfiction, to videos, to songs, to Lord knows what. Of course, speculating on relationships and if it was true or not. A lot of speculation would surface from moments bands would have on stage, i.e. stage gay as the term goes, along with interviews or on social media. The fans of these bands would eat these moments up and make ships and speculations, which of course led to the bands getting accusations of queer baiting, which is more prevalent now than I think it was back then. It depends on the time frame really. It was mainly joking. A lot of the humor was from giving feminine or queer attributes to these men. This was linked to the 2000s bisexual craze where every iconic celebrity at the time was queer in some way. This is very much true depending on what artist, but this video isn't about that. If you are interested in that topic, there is a great video by Verily Bitchy that I think you should watch. We'll link in the description. She mentions a lot of the emo bands that we'll be talking about here, but undoubtedly there were certain cases where bands did to accumulate an audience of vulnerable teenage girls to exploit, not naming names, but there's definitely a few out there. Aside from that, these bands embrace being grouped in with the LGBTQ community. A lot of the members in the scene were openly queer, especially Gerard, which definitely fueled that fire to an extent. That much being said though, let's start with the bigger ship. Alright, now My Chem was the gayest out of the entire emo scene. Gerard was contender for freakiest frontman, Frank was the definition of a gay icon, Mikey had the twink aesthetic, and Ray was like the ally friend that didn't know she was a lesbian yet. And Bob, well... But back in 2004 to I think around fucking 2013, there wasn't a single day where you couldn't see fans shipping Gerard with Ray or Frank. My Chemical Romance had fanfiction.net and Wattpad on a chokehold. Frerard is the most popular of the emo ships due to its impact. Even the most casual MCR fans know about it. Ship began due to the acts Gerard and Frank would have on stage, often kissing or acting provocatively as seen in these clips and photos. Especially the photo where Frank is legitimately on top of Gerard. On the topic of stage antics though, Gerard had said, there's definitely a trashy X-rated vibe to our live set. It's mainly to put off homophobes, but also because as seriously as you can take this, is you can't take yourself that seriously. So it's like aggressive softcore gay porn. There's a little man love, maybe some smooching, definitely some crotch grabbing, but definitely use the fuck the monitors. That does sound crazy, but that is a real quote that man had said. It was also theorized that Gerard and Frank had dated from 2005 to 2007, but considering Gerard got married to Mindless Self-Indulgence's Lindsay Way in 2007, I do have my doubts on that claim. But apart from that, Frerard was also the start of bands knowing about the fanfiction culture, as MCR were very aware of their community everywhere, as shown by this Q&A. The questioner asks, have you read any of the fanfics people write about you? The boys then laugh. Mikey says, my friends sent me one once, it was creepy. My friends are interested in all that stuff, so they all sit online and send it to each other and laugh. And then one of them emailed one to me and it was something really fucking out of hand. Frank then says, I heard Mikey's hot from you. The questioner then says, the hottest couple is you and Gerard actually. Frank replies, oh really, we're the hottest couple. Bob, ironically, says, That's amazing. I think this was before his homophobic art. The questioner then says that's actually one of the most active parts of the forum, the fanfiction section. Frank then says, wow, that's crazy, my god, he's kinda unsure about it. Well, if that's what gets you hot, go for it. Now, for the most part, after the Black Parade days, Frerard had calmed down on the stage side of things, but the fandom kept it alive still to this day, obviously with fanfiction and theories. One of the main ways being that people would spam former drummer Bob Breyer's Twitter comments with the ship just to piss him off, aligning to a tweet that he had where he said, if I see one more Frerard post, I'm going to quit Twitter forever. And they continue to do so. Even when the fucker died, there was still people commenting Frerard on his tweets. You could go to one of the posts from when Bob died, you will see Frerard in the comments. Joking aside, R.I.P. Bob. You may have been a shithole, but at least you had a legacy. Brendan Urie and Ryan Ross are known for a lot of reasons, some good and some bad.
This is my first video on Instagram. I'm not wearing a shirt, it's a shirtless jam. If I see you after the show, I'm gonna fuck you.
But one of the more known ones is the ship they shared as bandmates. It of course started with stage antics as Brendan and Ryan would be seen and getting very close on stage and harmonizing, damn near in each other's faces. This was mostly started by Brendan, but Ryan definitely added a lot to that. Ryan added a lot to that in the Pretty Odd era for sure. To the fangirls, this often looked like a close moment for a good old smooch. And then of course, Brendan and Ryan would kiss during the Nothing Rhymes with Circus tour. Ryden would also become infamous as the start of one of the most copied fanfics of all time, the one and only Nokefic. Still to this day, a new Panic fan will read it and be entitled to compensation. The fic of course involved Brendan, Ryan, and acts that we can't talk about now, but we'll save that for another day. Around the time Ryan left is when the gay star speculation turned up to 11. The biggest example being when Ryan tells Brendan to pay attention to a very specific lyric in Northern Downpour from Pretty Odd. That lyric of course being, I know the world's a broken bone, but melt your headaches, call it home. This lyric would often get Brendan choked up when he sang it, which led to it being removed from the setlist, as that video from 2011 has proved. It's been theorized that the specific lyric could be about their relationship or about how Ryan felt about Brendan, but it's never been proven. Panic doesn't leave the category yet, as of course after Ryan left and the Vices and Virtues era began, Brendan would end up being shipped with bassist Down Weeks, now known for his music and I Don't Know How But They Found Me. By all means, let us know if you want to if you want us to make a video about that band. But unlike Ryden, Brylin, as it was known, never had any milk or such a sad ending. It was only known by one vine of Dallin referencing it.
Searching on the internet.
Well. Fall Out Boy being the final piece of the emo quartet means of course the fangirls shipped them as well. Bassist and lyricist Pete Wentz being the main one to be shipped. Not only was he shipped with his bandmate Patrick Stump, but also his good friend Mikey Way from Gerard and the Chemical Romances. There's also that one video of him and Brendan Urie, and the vid of him doing Gabe Sport as eyeliner, and the song Bang the Doldrums. You know, Pete Wentz was really fucking gay. Most of these moments were, of course, interview silliness and jokes, except for the stuff about Mikey. Pete Wentz was gay for Mikey, and it's pretty obvious. Most of the info is out there on the internet, but most of this info comes from a great video essay made by Blake Gazeo. By all means, check it out if you have the time. But the story of Petekey starts back in 2004-2005 when My Chem and Fall Out Boy played the Warped Tour, back when it wasn't plagued by bullshit. This era would be dubbed the Summer of Like. In this era, it had both bands watching each other's sets. Mikey, Gerard, and Pete were a part of a friend group known as Sweet Little Dudes, a term Mikey created and which Pete made a shirt for. Hell, Mikey was even filling in for Pete on Dance Dance once. But the lore begins when a photo comes out of Mikey Way wearing this white denim jacket, a jacket that Pete happened to own. Then of course it all began on Tuesday, June 28th, 2005, when Pete made his first blog post about Mikey. Amazing New Mexico sunset. I'm hanging on a bridge with my friend Mikey Way from My Chem. It's all orange and pink above us. We went to another water park again. I love high fives again. Totally back in love. Saw the most amazing movie. I think it's called Spirited Away. Watch it. Peter Pan. Which then continued to July 4th, which had read, You're number one with a bullet. I love the way you have with me. I love William Beckett, like a boy loves a boy. I love this one girl. She makes me swoon. I love your tired eyes trying to keep up with us on stage. Love the way you're gonna make me an honest man. And I'm kinda easy on the eyes sometimes, right? I love being up at 9 a.m. I love the night. I love living forever. I love summer. I am loving this. And you and everything. You can't miss me, baby boy. We're doing big things. Thanks for always being the best friends and fans we could ever have. Petey. And then July 19th would bring the one that definitely influenced the song Bang the Doldrums. Wrote you a goodbye note, you just wrote me off on your arm when you passed out. Best friends, ex-friends. Better off as lovers and not the other way around. Racing through the city in the back of yellow checkered cars. The takeoffs are the worst, but the skin from your shoulder to your ear makes it all worth it. And I'm sorry the way my moods flicker on and off like an old light on your porch, but I know you wouldn't have it any other way. Sneaking in your window instead of out, the way you hold a cigarette because you don't know what to do with your hands when we're sitting this close, the way the waist of your pants feel better at the ankles, the way you were my best excuse for calling in sick on everyone else. I miss you. PD. Then the last one I'll mention was on July 21st. Lately I've been into believing fictional stories like the ones about you and me being happy. They've got to be science fiction because how else can you have a monster fall in love with a boy with no heart? Actually, I'm pretty sure you have a heart, but I'm just as certain it will never be mine. I can tell you're willing to be loved somewhere on the inside, but that doesn't do me any good when I'm still seeing things through thick curtains that were windows and padlocked doors on the outside. Bitter regrets, predictable forfeits. We lit a fire that was nothing but smoke and hot air. Ashes. My hands are empty and you hold all the cards. Kinda funny how you don't even want them or me. The final nail in my coffin stabbed me in the heart. From my back. You once made my heart skip a beat, now you make it want to skip this. You got salty mail ripping my wounds open that you're telling me to let heal. Love is a mirage, you only think it's there for so long, till you either wise up or die of hydration. Love is a way to blow your brains out minus the gun, I swear. It's the stupidest form of suicide because you don't die, and whatever doesn't kill you only laughs at you for coming close enough to. Sorry, it's just the bitterness talking. Ignore it and ignore me. I'm just loose words hanging on the ends of your lips, even looser when I'm anywhere near your hips. Poetry written from blistered fingertips and sleep-deprived eyes that were better before the ink dried. He said, I should have stayed with her, and I should have stayed away. Held together by paperclips and lies, a part of me is still trying to pretend I was mishearing things, but even the voices in my head aren't that mean to me. And then, I'm sorry too late, I'm a bitter reactor than the one you're being to conceive me. I'm just convinced that telemarketers are the only people with more hang-ups than me. You called this before you knew the number and hung up before you got a response. Tell me any of this will get me somewhere worth being without being left behind. I tried. I gave it and you my all, but all I can do is give up. I don't tell you my insecurities so you can use them against me, but help me get over them. Instead, you said and did the worst thing you do. Worse than cheating on me. I hope you know, but whatever I don't even know, I guess sometimes it takes losing what you had to see what you don't. So yeah, this is where I actually admit I'm tired, and I go to bed. Sweet goodnight. One of the most notable moments to come from the saga is when Pete had beef with Hey Chris. The most notable thing to come out of this was Chris taking a picture with Mikey to make Pete jealous. I know this all sounds like a Wattpad story, but this is all documented shit. Now let's talk about some music. The Fall Out Boy community have put down the pieces to say that about 37 songs are about Mikey fucking Way. 2 of those songs ironically being songs Pete helped write for Panic at the Disco's third record, Vices and Virtues. I guarantee this started due to that clip of Pete on stage saying,
I'm sorry, every single song is about you.
Speaking of those songs, let's go down the list, shall we? Now Bang the Doldrums is the most obvious, but the other songs are here and I quote, 4th of July, Thanks for the Memories, Favorite Record, Gays and Synonym for Shitty, EXO, Carpal Tunnel of Love, Missing You, Irresistible, Just One Yesterday, My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, It Takes Over the Breaks Over, I'm Like a Lawyer with the Way I'm Always Trying to Get You Off, Twin Skeletons, Head First Slide into Cooperstown on a Bad Bet, The Mighty Fall, I Don't Care, The Kids Aren't Alright, Bishop's Knife Trick, Church, Last of the Real Ones, Hold Me Tight or Don't, It's Hard to Say I Do When I Don't, Jetpack Blues, and The Calendar, which is again a Panic at the Disco song. People also theorize that Vices and Virtues B-side, Kaleidoscope Eyes, is also about Mikey, but I'm not so sure. Now, despite Pete or Mikey never confirming or denying it, the ship has kept itself alive and is now back in discussion, and as of 2023, out of nowhere, Fall Out Boy decided to play Bang the Doldrums at a festival Mikey was at. I swear Pete Wentz is both cryptic, but wears his heart on his sleeve.
This one isn't part of the big 3, but I think it should still be mentioned for the few used fans out there. Granted, there's like 10 of you out there, but it doesn't hurt to try. Bert and Gerard's history started around 2002 to 2003-ish when both bands were on the come-up. The two were extremely close, and naturally, when you're close with someone like Gerard Way, rumors will be made. And if we know the track record of the video, it's gonna be gay. Ooh, bars. The thing with these two is that they had moments where they seemed more than friends than they could have been. In an infamous interview, Bert was asked the question if Gerard and Bert were ever dating, and while Gerard said they don't date but they go out in a musical sense, Bert mentioned that Gerard's mom gave him a framed photo of the two of them, dubbed their first date. Around the time of their closeness included many photos of them kissing and even stage banter, more than frank, honestly. That stage banter included when Bert once said about, I think a used song, that this song is about how tasty Gerard's ass is. But of course, not all Yaoi ships can be perfect, some of them have to be toxic, shout out Brittany. and that was how Gerard and Bert ended up. Around the time MCR exploded in popularity is when the two would have a falling out. It's been speculated that this was mostly due to the U's being left in the dust while Gerard and the Chemicals became the biggest band ever, along with the fact that at the time Gerard had gotten clean and Bert was still using, which a pairing like that doesn't usually fit. Again, this is on Wattpad, so it's not going to work. Naturally, a falling out like this resulted in the bands no longer speaking, but like the jealous ex-boyfriend he probably was, Bert went ahead and made a diss track on Gerard, of course known as Pretty Handsome Awkward. Now mind you, Bert has said time and time again that the song is both is and isn't about Gerard. If you ask me, it most certainly is. He probably saw how unaffected Gerard seemed and he reacted like a crazy ex. But to make it better for him, at least it gave his band a song people will actually remember. The 4 ships we just talked about were the massive ones in the 2000s emo fandom, but when it hit the 2010s, much of the hype surrounding these ships faded, and the same with the popular bands. MCR disbanded, Fall Out Boy changed directions, Panic at the Disco started making more poppy sounding stuff, of course around 2013 to about 2000 and anything that was being labeled as emo was kind of gone. Long gone were the days of skinny jeans and band tees, and a lot of the emo figureheads swapped it out for that 2014 Tumblr grunge era. Y'all remember that era, right? Tumblr grunge? Jesus Christ. And the same happened with the sound. The emo sound that we know today was mostly pop punk. Mostly pop punk's influence, but a lot of the 2010s went for a more hardcore and metalcore sound that had a lot of pop influence more than ever. And then of course there was also the resurgence of Midwest emo acts like Modern Baseball or Marietta. And during this time, a lot of the fandoms had put their interests in different other things like Dan and Phil and My Digital Escape. I really don't know what caused that one, but go all in. This is where most of the shipping was. A lot of the other bands that were at a certain point later as emo, labeled as emo, like 21 Pilots, whereas 21 Pilots, in fact, continuing the trend as they were one of the biggest bands to be shipped. Of course, due to Tyler and Josh entertaining the idea with jokes, videos, and many photo shoots. One of the most infamous examples was the ever so known Force Fic. Once so known, it was even recognized and referenced by the band themselves. I'll never forget the day I read it with a friend. I was in fact speechless. That friend is definitely watching that video, you know who you are. There was a lot of discussion over them being emo in the 2010s, mostly due to them being friends with like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco, and then that really bad MCR cover, but that's besides the point. And then other, of course, it's better, well, to be fair, it's better to talk about 21 Pilots than that.
Yeah?
Why have you got the light?
They're making a video. I'll put it back. So that was my dad. He's kind of black.
And that was the emo yaoi craze of the 2000s. Now, in the current year of 2025, there really only is, like, Jake Weber and Johnny Gilbert. I know it's gonna get me killed for saying that, considering their reputation, but it's the truth. And sadly, they are seen as the face of modern day emo. Again, we've all seen the jokes of every emo now getting compared to Johnny Gilbert. And of course, it also has to do with many people wearing this bullshit. But I digress. The whole emo aesthetic has been altered once again. There's now like a big emphasis on the cultural crossroad of skate and underground, hardcore DIY fashion and sound. The only real emo acts there are left are the ones on TikTok. Some of the good ones like Youngblood and Anti Negative, and then you got Let's not talk about him. And whereas all of the homoeroticism of the past was provocative and eye-catching, something where people could be like, oh, is that really what they're like on stage? Really? And that makes you want to go to the shows and see it. Nowadays, it's just seen as soulless queerbaiting. Hell, nowadays, being a twink can be a marketing gimmick if you happen to be retarded. Mainstream is mainly dead. But in the underground, it's thriving with the resurgence of Midwest emo, just emo acts in general. And in every generation, especially now Gen Z and Alpha, now finding all of the bands from 10 to 15 years ago and loving them, like Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, and Panic at the Disco, to name a few. If I got anything wrong in this video, by all means, please let me know in the comment section, in case you want to maybe be like, oh, hey, there's actually this part. By all means, do that, I don't mind. One last thing before we go, I want to mention that if this video does do well, that eventually we will do I've been thinking about this, I want to definitely do a live stream of all of the emo ships in general. So if you want stuff to be talked about said ship, then by all means come down to that stream, we'll do it. We'll also read like any emo fanfiction that happens to be there. I know there's definitely one that people would probably want me to talk about since I mentioned in this video. But will we read it that night? I don't know. You don't know. You just have to tune in and see it when that happens. Anyways, I have been ZoeyGraves. Thanks for watching. Please give me a like and sub. I need money.
Give me